Hello, and welcome back to the self-care based on your zodiac and your element. So, this is part two. Today, I'm talking about the earth signs and how earth signs are kind of built and what kind of self-care practices and activities would really benefit the earth signs, some of the things to pay attention to and to be aware of as an earth sign. So, let's get into today's signs. So I am talking about Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Those are the earth signs, and they are ruled by the yin element or the earth element, but they are yin in nature. So their polarity is feminine, and that feminine polarity makes earth signs very much receiving, very much more feminine in their nature. They're also quite introverted as a result, where yang signs tend to be more extroverted and outwardly. So yin signs are more inwardly. They draw people and experiences to themselves rather than going out and seeking those experiences or those people. They are very contemplative, they're receptive, focused on communication and achievement of shared goals. So earth signs are definitely people that can work with other people. However, a lot of times they actually prefer to work alone and by themselves. Um, and that's okay. They have reflective qualities. They are practical and realistic. They need self care practices that also match this disposition within them. So, earth signs are rooted more in the material, in the physical world, obviously, being an earth sign. So materialistic things are very important to them, but it doesn't mean that they are materialistic in nature necessarily. They just have a very practical sense and view of materialistic things. They like to look at prices. They like to logically kind of decide whether it's something is worthwhile to invest into or not. So at their best, they are pragmatic, sensual, patient, and very grounded. But at their worst, earth signs tend to be greedy, materialistic, and overly lustful. So, definitely a very sensual sign as well. Earth signs tend to be very sensual in nature because of that earthly quality, because of that physical, that material quality that they have within themselves. For them, touch, and physicality with another person is very, very important. So, just keep that in mind. Earth signs also strive for measured success and often seek worldly possessions to solidify their self-worth. So for them, having a goal and reaching for that goal and working really hard to get that goal is very, very important. Earth signs tend to really enjoy materialistic and worldly things. So they like nice things and they want to have nice things and they really enjoy being surrounded by nice things. Many are so grounded in reality that they can lose track of their emotional well being. So sometimes earth signs are just a little bit too practical to the point where they actually lose sight of their emotional world and can become a little bit disconnected from their emotional world. So it is very important if you are an earth sign to keep that in mind and to balance yourself out and make sure that you don't ignore your emotional needs because you're always just too much up in your head or always too logical about things. Um, they are, excuse me, reliable, disciplined, and level headed. This is where the saying down to earth comes from because earth signs tend to be actually very level headed people in terms of how they approach life situations and people and circumstances. So they focus on practical solutions over emotions, which I had mentioned earlier. They are not light and buoyant like air signs. They're also not passionate and fiery like fire signs. And they're not empathetic or fluid like water signs. So earth signs and like each of the elements have their own characteristics, are very different in that sense. So instead, they are very committed, strong, and trustworthy individuals. So, for example, Taurus is loyal and always ready to help friends and family in need, where Virgo is hardworking and will never back down from a challenge. Virgos absolutely love a challenge and will fight to the death for that challenge. Capricorn is responsible and will help others to stick to their responsibilities as well. So Capricorns tend to be way showers in that sense. They are also the cardinal of the three signs. So Capricorns are definitely very, very good teachers and very disciplined when it comes to their work and when it comes to their responsibilities. So they're a very good example in society for how to be responsible. So, how does self-care for earth signs? So, let's talk a little bit about the different aspects and the different things that you need to look at if you are an earth sign that will help you to stay balanced and stay level-headed and keep you in a very well-rounded kind of energy. So, for self-care, and when it comes to self-care for earth signs, the very first motivation for them is to feel comfortable in their physical surroundings. Again, remember, earth signs are very touchy-feely. Like their external environment, the material world, the physical world is very important to them, and like how they perceive it. So for physical self-care, their most important motivation is routine and diligence. They don't require a lot of variety because the way earth signs look at things is that if something works, then, keep it going. Then you don't need to change it. But that can also create quite a bit of stagnation for them. So it's very important that they do actually switch things up a little bit every so often. Even though they like routine and they really like to stick to the same thing over and over, especially if it works well for them. The downside is that they can get, like I said, stuck in a rut and really stagnate if they're not careful. So, continuous physical exercise, self care, and good diet are cornerstones of comfort. Lots of mosquitoes. they they just need that, like what they put in their bodies, how they move their bodies, and how they use their bodies is extremely important for earth signs. And as I mentioned before, they are definitely, out of all of the signs, the most touchy-feely. They really like to hug, to reach out, to touch you on the shoulder if they're talking to you. Like, just in general, they really want to take an individual in their whole, like, and completely when they are immersed in you and talking to you and around you. So they're generally very huggy, very affectionate with their family members and friends, which is lovely, of course. Um, they are also they like want and they need that sense of touch. So spiritually, earth signs feel little division between body and soul, meaning that if they feel well physically, um, then their soul qualities can evolve and blossom beautifully. So physicality and taking care of their physical bodies for earth signs is particularly important because it keeps them very balanced when it comes to their soul and their emotions as well. So their self-care needs, uh, it needs to feed the senses. So it has to actually encompass and involve all of the senses when they're doing self-care activities. So whatever the activity is, it must look appealing, it must smell good, it must taste good, it must sound good, and it must feel good. Like, all of the senses need to be involved when it comes to earth signs. The more all of the senses are involved, the happier the earth sign will be, and the more likely they will be to follow the program and actually stick to it. So keep that in mind if you're an earth sign. Like, really make sure that you're choosing excuse me invigorating activities that really feed all of your senses and really encapsulate everything. So it's not just one or the other, but all. Now, too much sensual input can cause earth signs to overindulge and become lethargic. So this is a potential pitfall for earth signs. So you do have to be cautious and careful about not overdoing it when it comes to sensual things and when it comes to sexual activities, because you will throw yourself off, and it will actually drain you of your energy rather than fill you up with your energy. So as a self-care rule, be mindful that you are very sexual in nature, so you have to balance that sexuality within yourself and make sure that you're not overindulging and you're not overly sensual. Otherwise, it will go on to the more negative side, and in that case, it will drain you and leave you feeling really, really tired and leave you feeling just out of sorts and out of balance. Now, earth signs also have an attitude of valuing solid, measured progress. So they have this attitude of walk, don't run, and take things as they come. So there is definitely a slowness to earth signs, and they tend to enjoy life at a slower pace. They tend to enjoy activities and different things at a slower pace. They're really not ones to rush and do things too quickly. It really actually causes a lot of anxiety and stress for earth signs to do that. So be mindful if you are an earth sign, especially if you have a lot of earth in your chart, to really take your time with things, really slow down, really make sure that you're not pushing yourself too much, because it can definitely cause burnout and it can cause you to really go into high anxiety and stress. And that is not what you want. So let's look at some specific self-care activities that are really, really good for earth signs, and just some other considerations to keep in mind when it comes to your external environment and what you surround yourself with. So it is very important, because I mentioned earlier that earth signs tend to like things as the status quo. Then, it's very important for earth signs to kind of break out of the comfort zone, to switch up your routine, to do things a little bit differently every so often, so that you're not stagnating, so that you don't get too comfortable doing kind of one thing for a really long period of time and then not allowing any change to happen. So switch up your routine to prevent that stagnation. Get stepping. So for this one, this is about actually, if you're going to do any kind of walking activity, even actually walking is probably a little bit better than running for earth signs. And when you are walking, a great way to do it is to use a pedometer or a smartwatch or some kind of a fitness tracker that you can keep on you, because Capricorns being so responsible and really needing that measure, right? And they really need to measure success and to measure progress. Some kind of a tool like that would be very, very helpful for you when you are out walking, so that you can see exactly how much you did, and then that will help you to plan better in terms of how much you want to reach, in terms of what your goals are, and that kind of thing. So also, doing heavy lifting is very, very beneficial for earth signs. Using weights and strength training specifically will be very, very helpful. Anything with weight bearing is going to help fight muscle loss. It's also going to increase bone intensity and improve joint strength. And a little side note here about the joints: earth signs tend to have that's kind of sort of one of their weaker areas, is joints. So they can have joint pain often, and arthritis and different things like that. So keeping that in mind and doing things that will actually add pressure to the joints and will sort of force those joints to strengthen will be very, very beneficial for earth signs. Heal your spirit with the soil. Now, here's a no-brainer. As an earth sign, it's very, very important that you are actually outside, that you are spending time literally in physical contact with the earth. So touching the earth with your feet, with your bare hands, is going to be very beneficial for you. It will recharge you, and it'll actually bring a sense of peace and calmness within you that, really nothing else will. Being in close proximity to the earth, touching it, like I said, is very, very beneficial for earth signs. One of my signs is actually an earth sign, and even right now I'm actually barefoot in the grass. So To me, it's like one of those leveling out activities that I continuously try to do. It grounds me, it nurtures my heart and my soul, it makes me feel connected to this planet, which as an earth sign is very important for me. So doing that is going to be highly beneficial. Tilling the soil, planting seeds, and planting seeds or plants in rows, actually, again, because earth signs tend to have this desire to see, things very organized and very sort of linear because they're so logical in their thinking. Oh my God, and the wind just keeps blowing this hair in my face, sorry. Those kind of activities where you really are physically touching the soil is going to be very rewarding for you. It's going to fill you and charge you up. Um, and actually, if you don't have any kind of outside property, then what you can do is even just houseplants, surrounding yourself with houseplants, and then repotting them and tending to them and caring for your houseplants will also be very, very beneficial for earth signs. Just feeds your soul, man. Give yourself extra time to get to places. Earth signs, little FYI here, hate being late, okay? So it is very crucial that earth signs have extra time. Again, earth is it's a slow moving sign. They don't like to be fast. Anything that starts to create a stress within them creates a huge amount of anxiety. So it's very important that you always give yourself extra time to get to places, so that you're not late from your appointments and wherever you have to go. It just will keep everything flowing smoothly. Keep things slow and steady because, again, earth signs don't like rushing. It is actually not good for them to be rushing. It really throws them off kilter. So that actually applies even when it comes to your learning. So learning at your own pace is crucial as an earth sign. And that's something that I noticed in college, for example, that I really had to, I would take the information in class, I would make my notes, but then I would have to really go over it slowly and digest it at my own pace when I was by myself. That's just the way I learn best, and that's how I study best. And that is very common for earth signs. So stick to that. You definitely learn better independently and on your own. And earth signs hate it when people are looking over their shoulders and like, okay, what are you doing? Are you making progress? That is not an earth sign thing. So that's something that you need to kind of avoid to reduce your stress. Um, and when it comes to group work, the way that you can handle group work, because earth signs are not very good with group work, is you can simply just say, why don't we each work on a section independently and then come back together and then share those ideas and, swap notes and do whatever else and see kind of what we all came up with. That's a great way for earth signs to work in groups or in group settings, whether this is at school or at work. Eating what you love is also really important for earth signs. So again, that sensory thing is always so important for them. Staying relaxed and savoring the food that you eat is very important. So eating slow, chewing your food well is going to be very helpful, and listening to your body about what it needs and what it can tolerate. So earth signs are not people that you can generally pressure into eating certain things or overly spicy or whatever. If they're not into it, they're not going to, they're not going to eat it. They're not going to consume it because they know quite well. They're very, very in tune with their bodies and they understand what works for them and what doesn't. So if you have earth sign friends and you're not an earth sign, just an FYI, don't pressure them. Let them do their own thing, okay? Take it slow when it comes to your workouts. So again, slow and steady wins the race. Earth signs don't like to do high stress, high impact, invigorating type of exercises. They're definitely much more suited for slower workouts, like a slower yoga, um, or working out the muscles at a slower pace to build endurance. That works really, really well. So like, for example, like a Tough Mudder would be great, where a Tough Mudder is more about endurance and less about speed. Those kind of challenges are actually amazing for earth signs. Now, when it comes to the palate, indulge in cinnamon and chocolate for earth signs. So a rich dark chocolate is really, really great. And cinnamon, again, it has the smell, it has the flavor, it has all those yummy, delicious things about it. Really wonderful. It feeds the soul for earth signs. It's truly a treat for the senses. Sticking with classics. Okay, so now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about like external appearance, clothing, that kind of thing. So sticking with classics when shopping for clothes is best for earth signs. So um, the latest trends or like fast fashion, that kind of stuff never really works well for Capricorns, Tauruses, and Virgos. They typically really have like a very specific sense of style. They like a certain type of clothing. So classics, more muted colors, very like polished look, elegant, well made, and high quality fabrics. Those are all earth sign traits for sure. So, using more like linen and cotton, organic cotton, wool, all those kind of materials are very, very good for earth signs. It's what they generally gravitate towards anyway. So it's usually what's best for them. So even this is like linen, like I definitely am a part of that. So like Audrey Hepburn actually and George Clooney, they were both earth signs. They were both Capricorns, I believe. So they were both really, really into that very classic, very elegant look. You might resonate with that. Another thing with earth signs is to protect your throat. So the throat chakra can have some issues and can have some weaknesses when it comes to communication in particular. So it's very, very important that an earth sign always speaks their truth and expresses themselves. Holding things in will actually cause sore throats for earth signs, and will definitely cause issues with the voice. Also wearing scarves in the winter months, protecting the neck area, the throat area in the winter months is very important. Meditating with turquoise or blue stones is also going to be very, very helpful and beneficial to help to clear and open up the throat chakra for earth signs. Create a room of comfort in the home, and actually in general the entire home really should be very focused on comfort. Bringing in very earthy elements is going to be very beneficial. um, like a Zen room or a space that indulges all of the senses. So make sure that it smells the way that you like it, and make sure that it has those colors that are more muted, more earth toned, that are really satisfying for your soul, and lots of soft, natural fabrics and different things like that. And as a matter of fact, wrapping yourself in warmth. So cuddly, soft, natural fabrics are best for earth signs. They're very much cuddly people. They're very much touchy-feely, right? So the senses again are super important, and really indulging those senses is going to be very, very therapeutic for mind, body, and spirit. Color your home like the earth. So choosing natural earth tones throughout the home will keep the earth signs feeling level, grounded, and at peace. Greens, browns, whites actually are wonderful color choices for earth signs. Even if you're able to just create one room that has, those colors, or has some of those colors, whatever really calls to you specifically, and then bringing in other elements that are really going to be visually pleasing, that are going to be pleasing for the smell and for all your different senses. And stick to the muted versions of these colors. Bright colors typically are not best. They're actually stress and anxiety inducing for earth signs. So really, really bright, vibrant colors are not for earth signs. Nothing too loud, nothing too bright. So wood floors, dark finishes, plain walls, and will add elegance and a polished classic understated vibe into that space. So choose those types of colors and things, and you will see how much it feeds your soul, how good you feel. So that's it for today. I didn't want to make this video too long. It's already a little bit too long. But I just wanted to kind of share some ideas, some different things so that you can understand yourself on a deeper level, because that's where it all starts, guys. When you understand who you are and what you're made of and how you work and function, both mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, that is how you're going to be able to support yourself in the best way, possible. And you'll be able to really give yourself, and it's so simple to give ourselves those things that we need when we understand how we function and what really nurtures our soul. So that's it for the earth signs for today, and I will be making a part 3. We still have the water signs and the air signs to cover, so those will be coming up in the next videos. And today is also the 1st of September, so we're actually getting into the fall, or nearing the fall season very soon, and we'll be definitely more wanting to kind of cozy up. I think we're all going to be adapting a little bit of the earth sign traits in the coming weeks. So I wish you guys all a really, really beautiful first day of September, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.